Okay, so we will continue the discussion on curve fitting and regression. So I told you that oftentimes we get only data points which are discrete. For example, the performance of equipment, turbo machinery equipment or something like that, but we are interested in getting a functional relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable, so that we are able to do system simulation and eventually we are able to do optimization. But if it is calibration or something, we want to have an exact fit where we want the curve to pass through all the points. Then we discuss various strategies for exact fit, like Newton's divided difference polynomial, Lagrange interpolation polynomial. We also had a problem on Lagrange interpolation polynomial in the quiz, right? Very simple and straightforward problem where I gave density, rather the reciprocal of density, right. So specific volume of steam, and so these are basically exact fits, right, where you have only few points but the measurements are very accurate, so you want an exact fit. But there are several cases where the measurements are error prone. Point number 1, there are too many points, and it is very unwise on our part to come up with a polynomial which is 9th degree or 12th degree or 14th degree, which will keep on oscillating. So these are basically called as overdetermined systems. So what is an overdetermined system? Overdetermined system is a system which has far too many data points compared to the number of equations required to regress a particular form of the equation. For example, if you know that the relationship between enthalpy and temperature is linear, for example, let us not worry about the pressure. If you know the relationship between enthalpy and temperature is linear, you can put H equal to A plus B into temperature, right. So if you have two values of temperature, for these two values of temperature, if you have the enthalpy, your home, you get both A and B, but we have 25 or 30 values of temperature. For these 25 or 30 values we have the enthalpy, okay, all of which are associated with some error of the other, okay. Now this is an overdetermined system, because any pair of temperature and enthalpy will give you a value of A and B. Among these values of A and B, which is the most desirable, we do not know. So therefore you have to come out with a strategy of how to handle a overdetermined system where the number of data points is too many. I mean, it's basically you just don't want to solve the system of simultaneous equation and reduce it to trivial case of take two pairs and get A and B, because the whole thing is error prone. So you want to take care of all the points and so on. Therefore we have to evolve strategies for best fit, okay. So best fit, we so we do not want the curve to pass through all the points, fine. I mean, that's a reasonably good description of what we want to do, okay. So what form? Polynomial, exponential, or power law, or any other polynomial, you know. right. A polynomial form could be y is equal to a plus bx plus cx squared, the general depiction. You can have higher order polynomials also, or you can have an exponential form y equal to a to the power of bt, which is typically what happens if you have an initial value problem, concentration is decreasing with time, or the population is changing with time. We modeled for assignment 1 a problem where limited resources, unlimited resources and so on. Or you can have a power law form where Nusselt number or skin friction coefficient is equal to A into Reynolds number to the power of B and so on. So there could be various forms like this. But who will tell us what is the best way to get A, B, C for the polynomial, or A and B for the exponential, or A and B for the power law? We have chosen a form, all right. What is the strategy you would employ or use to get this A and B? Because it is a overdetermined system, we have only two, we need to get only two constants A and B, but there are other data points and they are not highly accurate. Minimize the what error? Y square of the error. So Euclidean distance, okay, some mathematical formula. What is so great about the Euclidean distance? When I am provoking you, does not mean that what you are saying is wrong or something. So, are you getting the point? We have to propose some strategy now. We just cannot solve simultaneous equations and go home because we have an overdetermined system. So, we have to discuss what are the strategies for a best fit, right. So, for an exposition on the strategies for a best fit, let me take a straight line, okay. Y is equal to Ax plus B. What is the problem you have? Please remember, we have this, we want AB, how do you get this? You either do your fluent computations, or you write your own program, or you do experiments in the laboratory. What could be these x and y? X could be Reynolds number, y could be skin friction coefficient, okay, that it could mean anything. X could be temperature, y could be enthalpy. We are looking at a simple relationship, we are looking at a simple one variable problem. Now for this we need to determine AB. It is a overdetermined system. For the benefit of people who came late, it is an overdetermined system because we have n number of points where n far exceeds AB. If you have just 2 points, you can simultaneously solve for A and B and say that y is equal to Ax plus B, but that is not going to solve the problem because it will locally fit a line between 2 points. But we want to find the best line which is a good representation for the complete data set, because eventually with this line we are going to do system simulation, optimization and so on. Okay. So the first is minimize R, okay, rather let us call it S is equal to sigma is that okay? I am not saying whether it is right or wrong. Any people will try to come up with the simplest possibility, right? Try to minimize the residue. Okay. So what is the problem with this? What is the problem with this? Let us take just 2 points for example. I have 2 points 1 and 2. Common sense tells me that I should join them by a straight line. Okay. Suppose I take something here. I propose this line now. This is line A, this is line B. If I propose this line, so here it has a deviation of minus delta. It has a deviation of minus delta from the original line, but here it has a deviation of plus delta from the original line. This minus delta and plus delta cancel out, and then this will give exactly the same value of the S or the sum of the residues as opposed to the correct line. Are you getting the point? In fact, any line other than the vertical will for this case of 2 points will reduce the sum of the residues S to 0. So you will not get a unique line. So associated with non-uniqueness. Instead of looking at it mathematically from a common sense perspective, large negative errors may be compensated by large positive errors. It will accept that also, because it is not worrying about the modulus, or it is not worrying about the square or any other thing, right. So you can deviate from as many points as you can deviate merrily, so long as the minus error is balanced by the plus error, it is all right. So it will lead to non-uniqueness. So this is not the best strategy for. This is not the best strategy. Please remember that we think it is all silly and all that, but 150 years back, 200 years back, there were people who were working on all this. What is so obvious to us today? It is obvious because you have a book, you have the information somewhere. So, but before regression was developed, some people had to slog it out. Who was the fellow finally who figured out regression? Who was the guy who finally figured out? There are only 3-4 people, no, one of them. No, Gauss, okay. So I don't know why these guys had nothing better to do. Okay. So they work in so many fields and keep haunting us during nights with new theorems and all. Okay. So the strategy number 1, minimize, fails. Strategy number 2, can we get a little better? Minimize. See, I am putting a general notation. S is the sum of the residue. Yes, it is. S is a terminology or a symbol frequently used in statistics. I can again put shall we do this? Looks better. Okay, I am minimizing the modulus. Now the large negative and large positive cannot cancel out each other. What is the problem with this? Let us take a hypothetical example. So what could be the story? For example, let me draw this, let me connect these two, let me connect, is it okay, or you want me to connect to the straight line? I will do that, no, I mean solid line. So there are 4 points, okay. So I have joined points 2, 4 with a line and points 1, 3 with a line. Any line which is occurring between these 2 lines will try to minimize this. There could be so many lines which will satisfy this. you can to put it in Excel and try to sort it out. Okay. So, a line like this or any line or alternatively I can say I can come out with many lines which will try to minimize this, which are lying between these two. My whole point is, unless I go home with a unique value of A and B, I cannot rest in peace, because I am looking for a B pair which will best represent the data. I am not trying to look at I am not interested in doing research on trying to find out how many possibilities of A and B there, whether the existentialism, uniqueness. I am not getting into a mathematical proof. Basically we are engineers, we are looking at data analysis. Okay, we have a limited perspective of trying to get the best representation for the data. So this also does not work. Okay, now we are left with I have a nice set of data. One, two, three, four. I have a nice set of data 1, 2, 3, 4 which is like this. Unfortunately, I have one fellow like this. I also measured some thermocouple, it came. Okay. Common sense tells me that this should be the line, right? This should be the actual line, but I am not caring about 5 if I do that. Okay. So one strategy would be, I do not want 5 to get angry, I do not want 0.5 to get angry, I will choose a line like this. On what basis did I choose this line? This line minimizes the maximum deviation from any point. Okay. This line minimizes, so it is based on what is called minimax criterion. This minimax criterion basically comes from decision theory. People who are studying management or OR must maybe might have studied. Has somebody studied about decision theory? The people talk about zero sum game. Stock market, for example, is a zero sum game. Zero sum game, basically if you keep on getting profit, somebody is going to get loss, because it is not a productive economy. You are not trying to make Hero Honda motorcycles and selling or something. It is basically you feel that today Reliance share, if you buy at 10 rupees more, it is worth for you, and this thing it is more, it's worthy and all that, and somebody does not feel so on. So these your management people will model game, I mean games based on game theory and so on. So the minimax is based on maximizing the minimum gain and minimizing the maximum loss or something. So you place such that you do not lose maximum, or you at least ensure a minimum gain. They talk about other things, for example a prisoner's dilemma. Have you heard about the prisoner's dilemma? So two people are caught, two thieves are caught, only one fellow is actually committed the crime, they are put in separate jails and all that. During interrogation, if both keep quiet, they can be set free, but if one says against the other, you will get 5 years, and then you lead to some hypothetical situation, and the other fellow keep. So there is a you can come out with a, what is the strategy that each of these has to adopt. For example, if it is a game and so on, but generally we will try to RG others. When you RG, actually it is not beneficial to either of you, that is what it says. If both of them keep quiet, it is a much better decision and so on. So if you go to Wikipedia and look at prisoner's dilemma, there are so many variants to this and people have written papers and all this. So basically these are all some decision theory, and so they look at complex moves which the human mind makes, and as far as we are concerned, we are trying to minimize the maximum distance from any point, maximum deviation from any point, but let us not forget that this point is a rank outsider. There is something fundamentally wrong with this problem. Statistically this problem is called an outlier. It is an outstanding point. So it is an outstanding point, it is an outlier. So this minimax criterion unnecessarily tries to give too much importance to an outlier. It happens even in a meeting when you are trying to discuss with your friends. If there are 8 people, one fellow who shouts too much, even if he is unreasonable, we will try to pacify because other people are keeping quiet. The most vocal person will be heard, though he may not be that may not be the most reasonable view. This we often see in life. So in statistics, this gives too much importance to outliers. So we do not want that. So what we will do is, suppose you show it to a prof, what I will advise my students is remove the 0.5. I am not saying quietly rub it off. So go. No, we should not do that. So what I will say is, go and check, go back and do the experiment 2 times or 3 times, okay, and then 99% of the time there was some mistake associated with that point, because suddenly you will not get a new physics or a new heat transfer or a new fluid mechanics, something is going up and down. There is something wrong with that point, okay, either you did not allow for steady state to take place or something happened, there is a fluctuation in the voltage at that point in time, or you made an error in reading the meniscus manometer or something. There should be some problem like that, okay. So with all these strategies having failed, so we try to see if we minimize the square of the differences between the data and the fit. If that is minimized, whether we can get a good handle on this. This is called LSR, just like our YSR, so there is a LSR, okay. So least square regression, right. So what is this least square regression? So for the linear case, we will say minimize S sigma Ri squared what is this? This is data, this is the fit. What does it mean? If y is equal to ax plus b, if you have 2 points, you can get the values of a and b right away. If you have 200 points, you will have so many combinations of a and b. Now we are trying to fit one global value of a and b for which best represents the data. So whenever you have a procedure by which you determine a and b and you substitute ax plus b, this will be different from yi data. So the difference between the yi data and this is y fit, right? Y fit of I is equal to axi plus b. So the difference between yi data minus yi fit is basically called the residue. The residue is whole square and you are trying to minimize the sum of those residues. So this is the least, so you are minimizing the sum of the residues in a least square sense, because the square takes care of all your negative and positive and all this, and this also helps you in getting a unique value of a and b for this. This basically, as Deepak said, this is basically what is called the it is called the Euclidean norm, it is called the L2 norm. It has got very interesting intuitive physical interpretations, or where it is quite insightful and all that, which we will discuss in the next class. But now suppose we have a data of y versus x, how do we actually get this a and b? Yeah, differentiate the norm, do partial differentiation, do dou s by dou a equal to 0, do dou s by dou b equal to 0, get a set of simultaneous equations, solve for a and b. The next 5 minutes when I take attendance, please do it, and then I will work it out on the board. Please do this exercise. Differentiate the Ashutosh, you have to start doing. So differentiate s with respect to partially with respect to a and partially with respect to b, equated to 0. Please note that sigma will keep coming throughout, and the total number of data points is n, small n. Okay. Correct? Is it okay? All right, 1, 2, so you can leave the 2. All right, I may make mistakes, minus plus, please let me know if it is mistake free. Kaustuv, it's clean. Yeah, now go ahead and solve for, I will just try to solve for b first because it looks easy, but b has a. We will solve for b and then substitute for b in the first equation and get a, and then we will say that if you have done so much with that we can get the other one also, right? Okay, so how to do this? So what do you want to do now? Huh? Next step, you can say that you will solve for a and b, but I want an expression so that it is easy for you to use it in the exam and it should be there in your notes. Yeah, so what do you want to do? Shall I write for A or B? You want to write for B? Okay. First. but it's not very good because it has A, huh? It's not fully done yet. So you can substitute for B in SIG 4, huh? Into sigma xi, is it? Is it correct? This is okay? Okay, so minus plus all right. Please note, please look at the board carefully. Sigma xi squared is far different from sigma xi square, huh? Okay, I hope you are able to get the difference. Okay, so A equal to please tell me. Sigma
xi sigma y
n
n sigma xi square square.
six, 7, yeah, B equal to
Square minus sigma yi sigma xi square
sigma
yi sigma xi square minus sigma yi xi
xi ya, huh?
into sigma xi by n sigma x square.
N sigma x square, same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, please try to check, try to do it yourself and do not copy directly from the board, because in the exam, in the quiz, in the quiz when you are going to do, you are going to use this. You will not have time to do dou S by dou E. You have seen my paper once now. You do not have time to check whether what you have done is right or not. If you are taking the formula, if it is incorrect, there is a propagation of error. So please ensure that this formula is right. It is very tricky. The square can, you can miss a square, you can miss a minus sign, you can miss a n. So be careful about this. Okay. So you got the values of A and B, unique values of A and B. So this is the best representation of the data. Fine. What these mean and whether we have really conquered the problem, whether there is a substantial improvement in our understanding or a representation by trying to force y equal to ax plus b and all that, we will evaluate in a short while. Anyway, so we got A and B at least. So let us start with a simple example. let us say we have a fully developed flow in a pipe. I have taken a pipe like this, I have fully developed turbulent flow. I send water at the rate of m dot. I can measure the temperature at the inlet. I can measure the temperature using a thermometer, thermocouple or what have you. Now I can wrap it up with the electrical heater. I can vary the power. It is also possible for me to individually control so that I have a constant temperature on the outside, correct. So I am sending cold water inside a pipe, the outside of which is either maintained at one particular temperature or is fed with electrical heating, so that the job here, so this is essentially a heat exchanger which tries to heat the incoming water, okay. Now it is possible for me to change the velocity. When I change the velocity, in order to maintain the temperature of the outer wall constant, I can change the settings. So now, which means for every change in velocity I can change the heater setting and I can keep the temperature constant. So I can repeat this experiment. That means when I change the velocity, I change the Reynolds number and then I am changing the heat transfer rate. So I am seeing how the heat transfer rate varies with the fluid velocity. This is essentially what we do in convective heat transfer. If this pipe were assumed to be at a particular temperature, then the pipe wall temperature is like this and then this temperature goes up like this. This is called a TX diagram of the heat exchanger, temperature length diagram, TX diagram. When you do this, so this is delta T in and this is delta T out. I am surreptitiously discussing one question in the quiz. Okay. So because one is a straight line and the temperature distribution is exponential, you cannot use an arithmetic mean temperature difference. Therefore it becomes contingent upon you to introduce the log mean temperature difference. What is this log mean temperature difference? So basically here it is delta T in, here it is delta T out. So the log mean temperature difference is delta T out minus delta T in divided by log of the logarithmic mean temperature difference is the temperature difference at one end of the heat exchanger minus the temperature difference at the other end of the heat exchanger divided by the logarithm of the ratio of these two temperature differences. It cannot be equal to arithmetic mean temperature because the capacity for the fluid to pick up the heat will keep on decreasing because the potential difference decreases. So it is a law of nature that since it decreases, then it will have a saturation curve. When there is a saturation curve, if you take T in and T in plus T out by 2 and mark some point and take this difference, that is a very bad approximation in several cases. So that is called the AMTD, arithmetic mean temperature difference, which does not work. So essentially you can do experiments like this. Suppose instead of water you can change the fluid. If you change the fluid, an additional parameter which enters the problem is the Prandtl number. So this is an experimental approach to determine the heat transfer coefficient. So how are you going to do this? So this MCP delta T is equal to UA LMTD. In this case, if the outside temperature is fixed, I do not have to use the U because I know what the temperature is on the outside. I do not need to use the concept of overall heat transfer coefficient. I will just use HA LMTD. This must be equal to the Q which is coming. Okay. So once I use this, Okay, I can divide Q divided by A into LMTD. This is my heat transfer coefficient. This heat transfer coefficient is equal to my Nusselt number into thermal conductivity divided by the diameter. This Nusselt number is equal to A Reynolds number to the power of B Prandtl number to the power of C into thermal conductivity divided by D. This is C Reynolds number to the power of B, where the C absorbs all the other constants. Now you know the link, the missing links in the chain. Suppose I just say that in a heat transfer experiment, X is this X is the independent variable, Y is the dependent variable. As an engineer, we will pose the problem like this. All right, fine. So I have worked out something based on this, and I will give you a problem. So now you open out a tabular column and solve this problem. We will continue with the solution in the next class. You have another 5 minutes, you can start off. Problem number?
Oh, still not.
14, 16. Problem number 16. Experiments on fully developed turbulent flow in a pipe. Experiments on fully developed turbulent flow in a pipe. Experiments on fully developed turbulent flow in a pipe under steady state conditions have been carried out. Experiments on fully developed turbulent flow in a pipe under steady state conditions have been carried out. Experiments on fully developed turbulent flow in a pipe under steady state conditions have been carried out with water as the medium. The variation of the Nusselt number with Reynolds number is given in tabular form. Assuming a power law for the Nusselt number, assuming a power law for the Nusselt number, assuming a power law for the Nusselt number of the form I can say it is easy for you to have A and B, or okay, of the form Nu is equal to C Re to the power of M, using least square regression get the best estimates of C and M. Using least square regression okay. I have straight away introduced a complication. What is that? I told you how to regress only a straight line, but now I am saying it is a power law. So what should I do? First step, I take log on both sides, I take a natural log on both sides and reduce it like this. First step, why I told you that it is important to write the formula is you have to expand this tabular column and just start putting ln Re ln Nu, and ln Re you call it as x and ln Nu you call it as y, then you know what all you require, xi, yi, x square, then you open up one more row here and put sigma for all this. So you will have sigma xi, sigma yi, sigma xi yi, sigma xi square. Then once you have all these values, then it is plug and play, put it into the put all these values into the formulas for A and B and get A and B. Yeah, you can just start now, you can just start the tabular column, and anyway it is going to take 20 minutes, we are going to do it in tomorrow's class. You can make a start now, it will take half an hour. Do not do it with your calculator, it will already tell you, right, if you put these 5 values it will give the regression, or anyway it does not work, in the exam you have to show me the table and all that. And what will you do for a nonlinear regression? Calculator will not help. Quiz 2, nonlinear regression, the Gauss-Newton method, where the beauty of the nonlinear regression is A and B will keep changing with iterations. How nice it will be, right? Tell me how many columns you need. Okay, serial number, Reynolds number, Nusselt number, that is 3, 1, then log of Reynolds number column 4, log of Nusselt number column 5, then x square, xy, right, and then I also have columns for y bar, y fit minus y bar whole square, I mean all that. We need to statistically evaluate the performance of a regression. I will talk about this in tomorrow's class. I think it is time now, so you have to go to the next class. So we will start with this. So we will solve this problem in tomorrow's class and look at the insights it offers.